Okay, so this is my presentation. Uh, okay, I don't even remember how Google Slides work. Anyway, okay, so the definition of gender identity. Gender identity is a person's internal idea of what they are or like what their gender is. It doesn't always have to align with the sex that they were assigned at birth, and it doesn't always and it like their physical appearance does not matter. That does not like influence what their gender identity will be. And understanding gender identity is important for like having inclusivity for everyone. Why cultural perspective matters. It it may like because it matters because our culture, I guess, defines how people perceive gender, and um and cultural factors decide whether gender, I guess the concept of gender, is accepted or not. And society, religion, laws, all that stuff, that also plays a role in in influencing gender norms. Okay, onto the United States. Um, Gender identity has been more visible recently, more so in the last decade or so. There has been regal, legal recognition of non-binary identities in many places, or include uh, gender-neutral policies, I guess. And there have been more movements for equality and trans rights. Okay, on to Canada. Um, Canada is considered a leader in gender inclusion. It legally recognizes non-binary identities seen on this Canadian passport under sex. It shows X. Um, and many provinces allow that on their passports. And generally in Canada, it tends to be more accepting generally. And there are several legal protections for LGBTQ plus people. Okay, in the media, there are several TV shows, and movies that include genderqueer people, such as The Wilds, A League of Their Own, and Pose, which is iconic. And it shapes how people see genderqueer people, and it shapes their idea, and it helps them form ideas about how genderqueer people are. And there are also more gender neutral restrooms in public places, which is amazing for genderqueer people. So, Two Spirit is a Native American idea where people have both masculine and feminine characteristics. Um, this predates colonization, so we know that it has been in Native American society for a very long time, since the 1300, since before the 14, since before 1492. Um, and Two Spirit people were often held in high regard, and it's tied to and it is tied to roles like communal roles such as healers. And today, um, the modern Two Spirit people are reclaiming the roles of being Two Spirit because after colonization, it was kind of, I guess, drowned out by white people and Europeans. Um, and they raise awareness through art, activism, education, and many Native American communities host two-spirit gatherings. In South Asia, there's the Hijra community, specifically in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And Hijra is basically just a third gender, and they play roles in rituals such as blessing births and at weddings. And they're and it's deeply rooted in Hinduism and Islam. Um, they still experience discrimination, and they're often excluded from mainstream employment and education opportunities, and they're stigmatized socially. Um, and they have very limited access to healthcare and safe housing. Thailand has the Kathoe. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right, but it's fine. So most they're mostly referred to as lady boys, and um, they are prominently featured in media, fashion, and entertainment. And while tolerated culturally, there is very limited legal recognition of them, and many face challenges with official documentation. Thailand's Buddhist traditions promote tolerance, which is why Kathoes are accepted are as accepted as they are currently. But there is a disconnect between cultural visibility and legal equality because they are accepted in some public spaces, but they still are discriminated against in civic life. In Japan, they there has been a lot of emphasis on gender roles in Japan, and it's rooted in Confucianism because they when they were influenced by China, that's where Confucianism came from. But in recent years, there has been more visibility for transgender people and a larger push for gender inclusive policies. But the progress is still very gradual. In South Korea, there is a rise in activism for um, in rights activism, especially with younger people. And South Korea is a more conservative society, but there have been a lot of movements advocating for transgender and non-binary recognition, especially online. They're very active online. Okay, in the Middle East, um, what was our next slide? Wait, how do I go back? Um, in the Middle East, um, gender identity is very closely related to religion and culture, and non-binary and transgender expression is oftentimes criminalized. Laws are very strict regarding that, and deviation from the gender norms that they have can result in punishment. But in and also in the Middle East, there is more activism, even though there is a lot of legal punishment that they can face. But there are more activists and they continue to push for rights. And it's mostly done underground or online because of the laws and the punishment that they can face. In Africa, before colonization, many African societies recognized fluid and gender roles and identity that were not strictly masculine or feminine. But colonization very much influenced um, a binary gender system and made it criminalized to be in same-sex relationships and non-conforming gender identities. And also, ethnic groups such as Uganda, Nigeria, ethnic groups in Uganda, Nigeria, and other African countries once accepted gender nonconformity, like in their society, and it's currently being like uncovered that it's being uncovered and revived. These traditions, they are being brought back, but there's political resistance and anti-LGBTQ plus legislation in place. Oh, that's the slide that I just went over. Um, Global comparisons. While some cultures celebrate gender diversity through legal protections in the public, others have very strict boundaries through social and legal religious pressures. And understanding these differences, if we can understand them, that can help us highlight these global challenges and successes that we have achieved already. um, is there another slide? Okay. Um, Recognizing the cultural context of gender lets society be more inclusive and respectful of gender diversity, and it's very important for that respect. It's very important to global human rights, and by learning from different cultures, we can challenge the bias and support everybody. And that is it.